Good afternoon, everybody. It's me, BC here. I'm just waking up because I stayed out too late at a Denny's drinking coffee last night. So I decided to wake up this morning and check out the news as I do, and found something to react to, and it's not hip hop related. Like I told you guys, we're not gonna always be covering hip hop music videos. And for one of my first outside of the box videos, I'm gonna react to something wrestling related. I do enjoy to watch wrestling on occasion. I was a huge fan of wrestling growing up in the '90s, and one of the people that I was a big fan of, still am to this day, is the Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase. Now you're asking, is he somebody that is in the news? Did he die? No, he did not die. Ted DiBiase, very still alive. But if you remember Ted DiBiase, he had a bodyguard named Virgil. Over the past decade or so, he's kind of turned into a running joke within the wrestling community. Shows up at conventions, rarely ever has a line of people visiting him. And it spawned a meme called Lonely Virgil. And it was basically people taking pictures of his empty booth and him just sitting there looking really sad and depressed. There are some rumors out there that he's a jerk kind of to deal with in person, selling you a picture or selling you an action figure and tell you one price, and then you actually take the picture with him or something like that, and he'll try to like up the price last second and say, no, 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 you did this or that and you owe me this. Kind of tries to swindle people out of money. I've never met the man in person, actually. I've seen him from afar at conventions, and I do recall it not looking busy at his table. I don't go to a lot of cons, at least anymore. Why am I bringing this up today? Here's why I'm bringing this up today. Because there's a video that just surfaced of Scott Hall. If you know who Scott Hall is, he is who played Razor Ramon on the WWE back in the 90s, back before the Attitude Era. And then he, of course, rose to huge fame in the WCW days as Scott Hall, just as himself in the NWO. He had battles with drugs and alcohol, and he decided to try to get his life back on track, and he got into DDP yoga, a documentary of him and Jake the Snake Roberts basically doing DDP yoga to decide that they want to turn their life around. And it was a really inspirational documentary. Highly recommend you check that out. Heartwarming, at times frustrating look at what it's like to be a wrestler after, after your career is over. Here's my issue. Okay, so there's a video that resurfaced. So it surfaced a month ago.
Come here, look at this. I want this documented. Now look at the merchandise that he has for sale. Look at all the stuff he's selling.
Okay.
Oh, look at this. Look at this, look at this. Is there one picture of just Virgil?
No, one little action figure right here.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Oh, it has, bro.
And you would recognize it more if it was on his back like that. Because that's the way we saw him the most. You are too much. You are too much. He's hustling off everybody. Oh, don't tell. What are you selling pictures of Tyson too?
And that's the moment that I didn't like. Okay, so now given this is edited video, I understand that this is meant to maybe kind of cast a shadow on Scott Hall to make him look shitty. And while I don't agree with everything Scott Hall was doing, I feel like he was more ribbing Virgil a little bit and just kind of ball busting. They're probably, I don't know if they're like close friends, but they know each other. They were both in NWO back in the day. After the Million Dollar Man gimmick went away, he ended up in WCW as Vincent, who was basically just a hired goon to hang out in the NWO. Like, he really wasn't anybody of significance. He never had any kind of title runs or anything. He was literally like just a glorified manager, a bodyguard kind of character. And that's always what he's played. In this video, the thing I didn't agree with was that the context of why him and other people have been busting Virgil's balls, hustler and this and that. he's selling pictures often of him and Ted DiBiase together. People kind of frown upon that and say, well, they're buying them mostly because of Million Dollar Man being in the picture. What people don't realize is that that whole gimmick of the Million Dollar Man, I just don't see it working as a standalone gimmick. Like without Virgil, I don't feel like the Million Dollar Man gimmick would have sold as well. Having a butler or having a bodyguard as a really rich person, it made more sense, and it definitely worked when they had the feud after Virgil and DiBiase had a falling out. I believe he did beat him in a match. I think he might have lost also, but I don't remember exactly. It wasn't like my favorite feud or anything, but I do remember it, and I remember liking the fact that Virgil was getting to strike out on his own a little bit and get over with the crowd. He definitely got over with the crowd when he was a face. Now, people saying, well, he shouldn't get the right to sell that merchandise, or he should be cutting in DiBiase on the profits. I think that that's kind of lame, because I feel like DiBiase, while he probably has a bunch of merchandise he could sell that doesn't have Virgil's picture on it, I feel like he probably has at conventions sold some pictures that has Virgil in it. So I don't buy for a second that, it hasn't worked both ways. While DiBiase's definitely had a more illustrious career, he's got more clout, so to speak, in the wrestling world. I definitely don't like the fact that everybody is shitting on Virgil as hard as they are. I mean, the guy is just trying to live his life. I mean, fuck, there's pictures of him at flea markets just trying to sell pictures just to put a few coins in his pocket so that he can feed himself. Or, I don't know if he's got kids or anything like that. I really haven't dug that much into Virgil's past, but I don't sit there and like deep sea dive looking for information on mid-card wrestlers or jobbers, which is what some people would call, Virgil. And let's not get it twisted. The man was not a jobber. You could sit there and say, yes, he did the job on some matches, but he was not a jobber. If you say the name Virgil and you're any kind of wrestling fan, you probably know exactly who they are talking about. You know they're talking about Ted DiBiase's Million Dollar Man's bodyguard. You know the face. If you see the face, you go, yep, I know him. To me, that's not a jobber. Don't leave some comments below and let me know that you want me to do more wrestling-related news. I don't know if KB is necessarily a huge wrestling fan. If she wants to respond to this, please do, KB. I would love to see your take on how you feel about this video. Do you think that it was justified? Do you think that it's okay for a little bit of ball busting? I mean, we ball bust in the comedy community all the time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially if it's meant in a friendly way. And some of the inflection of how Scott Hall was talking kind of suggests that. I think it just adds, it's not a good look because it adds to the narrative of shitting on Virgil. And I think that this man is depressed, probably. He's doing what he can to get through life, and it cannot be a good feeling to be at a convention and just like have nobody at your table. And you have to spend money to be at those tables. You have to buy those spaces. There might be times that he shows up and loses money. So what do you guys think about it? Are you fans of wrestling? Do you know Virgil? Are you a fan of Virgil? Are you a fan of Scott Hall? Do you think what he did was right? Do you think what he did was wrong? Comment below. Let me know. And that's all I got for now, guys. My name is BC, and for the KBBC Internet Takeover, that's all I got for you right now. See you on the next one.
Everybody's got a price.